Yat shik do shidne den khata so kizido ta isenol den oshi hono yu koja hanada siyo ki shady perfilia fowler da shidne mai dish gijnin shlon todich ni bashichin aro trapa etashichedo ache etashanale trots aholiede ade is chishike koko ya taga zangi nashnish aj etalade benat ani itlin aj etlatoshan nishnat ako hihe ni hidini lo le ada khata so kizi ishi band ilta kodo todzen lini iltabe ilta shin todil zendole nit an hi otlat nazlado lat an hi yata ako kodoshi todzen lini itadilni koden hojodo le shamana hastan yadelhil zlistan twistan dozel dana ade do di in the ne dan no lide kode di bini bi in hita nahi kalnle do halchelt hi halchewan na dalt ke na dalt sui tad din ani sa ana rebik hojon ni yajne awet ni lo nandi ne di bini bi kodo de quiz kanda de quina khaye da shin kwa de nebich ken ulye hon de nebel khotso so as ado kodo na khana gado na khayalti na khat la aljugo altkhone lil ba nitzen khala sani welye dilinit dilzinit tsada alla nitzno kodo sani welye bitsado yita ba nitzen nihema san nihinale san hicho nihazatan leneho khashine la ho benanthin nihite yizla benanthin dishji benit ben yen tsekhesi yehan hitila benanthin yehan hitila betsodezen tadits ko lato yehatan hitila hunt egona khada hot nasko neje ni hiyol khato tan hit no hot hi khatsodezen ni hot nakhatsota hatezena kode dishji benit edo benasi tato benasi kha di bini bi ho nakha alchenen hi yajin hi awe nakha twin hi zani lini ho tsodezen lini ho ba ananashle yat eko nane khedole tsda lani zinon hi ket aton len hi tsit aj yat eon hi nahot atole kha ishin ko to yat eshi nakhan ni adit le hi adolto kha shine la ho hita huilza dolce krego in hila yinni lin hinel enna yin hinel dots it laha ni hit adolto kon ya ateho nadi khato ya ateho ni nahot atole ado altra benashni dole na has twin hizani lini ho dilzeno indit lilko hashine la has twin hizani dan lini do de nilzen das itli hinditle de nilzeno neint ladolen ras twin hizani ni hijen hima ni hima yajen hita aketan lini ho na khalchin bait ho adon leto cheated ni hits adon nan tindole na hitol at ya at ho nan tindlini nsa kesen lini don nan tinul yani na hat an lini na khapi hinditle na khalchin lini ho altro at ho batona desendole niltro ho waden ita ho wan lini ni kotla de lini ho neshkishnas tradon hi trotnas kango ni hitseske nas lago en juno ba nahi tatole ha hi li tole juno na he hanayo kan de kwide la sade ni he na tocha sapi da hoidil zelta di no alla to dilzen en juno ya at hits ist hat ya at uhinsen chian chil ini trochil ini ya at ni hits is yi holodole aronat ani do altra benashni dole tladenat ani tslishi yaj ado kebedak it besh bahasa an tratnas nele keyapenant ado tneshji betabet ojini altra adon hi yajin hi awe da altra idan lini ho yat atahol atole o yugoshi ba na ijo kala nan de tsodezen lini hot Lato be enana shwato be hanana si dole ashido shilhun lo dole. Ni hikit aton len hitzit aj alla ani zino. Ni hilhun lo dole ho. Hun soga eitzo de zin lini ho ahun shende. Be hanana si dole ni hilhun lo dole ho. Ni hikidin i don han chit dole ho. Hun soga eitzo na desin dole. Adi de ben hitcho wajona haslin, wajona haslin, wajona haslin, wajona haslin, wajona haslin, wajona haslin. Ich ha shik edo shidne den khata so kizi do ich ha kwa ni hidunus no kwa ni hilna hot de kodo ya the Nebich Camp. We'd like to welcome each and all our listeners to the 69th annual Miss Navajo Nation Pageant from the surrounding areas and our homes. A lot of our viewers right now were experiencing to where we're not waiting in line for restrooms, there's no waiting in line for food lines, vendor lines, we're not dealing with parking or entrances. And around this time was our Navajo Nation Fair time. So we really, we got to embrace technology. So we look at the positive way. Behanana sit or le ado di nihich a ken linin halchine et a ketalt a kodo the nebich a ken. We have 3 young, beautiful, courageous Navajo ladies who are competing for the title of Miss Navajo Nation. We're going to start the competition regarding the contemporary skill and talent this morning. We did have various competitions throughout the week. We started it on Monday, and we're now into our Friday, kind of going down the final stretch. At this time, I would like to introduce our 3 judges. And our 3 judges who are taking part with the huge responsibility in judging this portion of the pageant competition. The contemporary skills and talent competition highlight the contestants' special skills, hobbies, interests they've learned and were taught by them. Kokodoshe ya nihich a ken lini hashin so ishin yinet lindo ha ishin ye ehosani kodoyen hitato nana tato pahanada dilzilton junoshi nada or lil nihich a ken lini a kokodo a chachizi beta hadilzi DJ kodo nihuman lini rose gray will ya a tothate a recent retiree from Navajo Nation Abandonment Mine Lands Reclamation Department. She currently holds a Bachelor in Science degree in Civil Engineering and a Master in Business Administration. She's born and raised in the vicinity of Shiprock area and was raised in a traditional setting. Speaks fluent Navajo and have Hogan, and as all through her life, she continued to learn from all different kinds of people, young and old. Judge number 1. Our next judge is Shine Salt, who is from Kayenta, Arizona. Shine Salt is born within his cover clan and born for the Mexican clan. Her maternal grandfather was of the Deer Spring clan, and her paternal grandfather was a Bitterwater clan. Shine is originally from Kayenta, Arizona, and has her undergraduate degree from Arizona State University in journalism and mass communications at Northern Arizona University in applied indigenous studies. Shine recently attained her master's degree from University of Oklahoma in legal studies. She currently works with the Navajo Abandoned Mine Land Department as a senior public information officer. Thank you, Shine, for joining us. Our next judge, Teresa Benali from Window Rock, Arizona. Teresa Benali is a lifelong resident of Window Rock, Arizona, and has a parent and 5 inspiring children. Her clans are Water Edge, Plum Tree, Salt Clan, and Mexican Water. Dishin ya na ejitapaha ejil adalton sesaka dene yashin ashin edabeche adonake dene edabenale. She has worked with Window Rock Unified School District for 15 years. Her current position is with the Wellness and Culture Coordinator. Teresa is an alumni of the University of New Mexico and is pursuing a master's degree of education at Arizona University. Past titles include She was Miss Intertribal Indian Ceremonial from 1984 to 85, Miss Indian Arizona from 1987 to 88, and first runner-up of Miss Indian America of 1988. At this time, we'd like to thank all the judges. Each contestant will have 10 minutes to present their contemporary skills. Here's the start of is our contestant number 1. Kodoshe Khanahadoljish. Neznata Haljin A Bahidit Ati Atla Asazunako Asian Kodo AD Nihit A Kenton Lini Satoshi AD Haishi Yinet Linshido Ohos Ahi Yohos Aishi Kodo Nihil Ishta Ile Dole. Yeah.
Yat Edo, Yat E Bennett, Ansel, Dalisons Agi, Shay Shadin Hoyasigas Yinisha, Ashihi Nishek, Ek Obashin, Kodichi Dashache, Yome Dashanalet, Al Kuchit Ego Shidinet, or Akima Autumn do Yome, Sun in the Shlo, Chihotor, that Nashana Dina Scotch and Nache. Yat E and Scoots Yardy. Hello, good morning. My name is Shandine Yazi. I am of the Salt clan, born for the Gila River people. I am, my maternal grandfather is Bitterwater, and my paternal Nalis and my grandfathers are from Mexico, and they are Pascuayaki and way deep. And I am 25 years old. What I will be presenting to you is my skill. And right now I am studying to become a tribal advocate at Navajo Technical University. I work with a grassroots project with peacemaking, and that is my emphasis today, to explain how I use and utilize peacemaking with traditional knowledge and skills, and then understanding the four-directional process, which is called NNIS, but a lot of people may know it as Ninsahake, Snata, Ina, and Sihasen. And so some of my background actually includes a lot of advocacy and activism work within my communities. And I work a lot with all different kinds of issues and regarding either the environment or social justice. But my emphasis right now that I want to try and educate my people with is to understand what is reproductive justice, what is restorative, and what is transformative justice. There's a lot of justices out there that we need, and as well as for Indigenous people, we endure a lot of violence, and there's a lot of things that are happening in this time that are considered injustices. And this is why I encourage a lot of our younger generations to consider law, to consider maybe becoming a peacemaker, to consider maybe studying more about Navajo fundamental law. And so with that, I will start my presentation. So how I want to explain is fundamental law is one of the things that is actually our basis as Diné people. It comes deep within the first time. There's 4 worlds, and I'm not going to go into detail due to cultural sensitivity, and it's not winter. But if you do know that there's 4 worlds, and the first world was the dark world, and in there, I want people to know that there are 2 energies in this world that we consider as good and bad, and to understand that human beings, bila ashkla'i, as 5-fingered people, we are never perfect. We will never be perfect. It is impossible to be perfect. Imperfection is what makes us who we are. It is our medicine, and it is what carries us and protects us in our communities and even as ourselves. But within that, if you look into Title 1 of Navajo Nation Code, you'll find the section for fundamental law. And with that, it has a section that almost looks like a prayer, but in there, you'll understand, if you break it down by the language, what is it that's inside it. They talk about in the first world, you were gifted the knowledge of Ninsahakes, to critical think. And like a brain, your brain is always needing fuel. and your brain is like a fire. With too much fuel, you know too much, and this is what wiped out the first world with fire. And in the second world, we gave each other nanda. Nanda means above in thinking, planning, strategizing to understand how to execute something. And with ina in the third world, you are given life, and life is very precious. We understand to take care of it, and we know that it's in the west direction. And then with the north, the last one that we got and that we received is actually sihasin. And sihasin is usually translated into hope, into whatever outcome, whatever desire that you want to strive for. And so with that, NNIS method is something that we teach in schools as well as with other tribal advocates and law students, particularly Navajo ones. So how you would say fundamental law is diindane bit'adan bit'asale. Bit'asale means that it is in front and it is behind you. And everything that we know is from the past and into the future. With Navajo people, we think critically and we're able to get out of situations because of, we really think about these issues and how to approach it. So with that, I know that these are really interesting words that we know and we read from, but you can always read them in different sections if you look up peacemaking or fundamental law. But this is what I wanted to actually talk about was facilitating sessions. So one of the few things that one of the things I'm very passionate about is working with unsheltered folks. Unsheltered folks are the most vulnerable population of the Navajo Nation. They have high rates of violence, and this includes sexual, domestic, and there's so many violences that they receive upon our people. And I do not condone the word glani or da'aglane, because these people are very sick and these people need help. So with that, I really encourage all of us to consider advocating for treatment centers and resource centers that are approaching it with a holistic and traditional approach. So one of the things I want to explain is that with this, I worked with a few other lawyers and former judges with the Navajo Nation, and this is with the fundamental law for direction process. With Ninsaha case, let's just give this example of, there is a section I want to bring up. Hold on. It's actually involving a mother. So this mother is an alcoholic. She neglects her children are taken away from her. What do? How do we first approach it? Ninsaha kesko. You want to think about it. Think about what is causing the illness, what is causing the problems. Ask her these questions. If there's a problem, how do we address it? We ask questions. We try to understand it. We try to get an interview process with the mother and try to understand what's going on. And once she explains, maybe there's something in her life, maybe why she started drinking, why she's going through this, what is the trauma, what is the process, where is the father, where is these situations, you try to understand. And you think about all the possible outcomes, all the possibilities. How do we approach her drinking? Do we give her a 28-day rehabilitation program? Do we give her this? Do we give her different resources, and we try to think what is really going to be effective for this mother? How do we approach this? And maybe she does choose rehab, and then you go into ina. So her kids are in custody. How do we get her kids back? Is she following through with her procedures? Is she following through with parenting classes? Is she following through with her rehabilitation program? We always ask these things, and how we approach it is through k'eh and kinship. And k'eh is everything. Everything is interrelated. Everything has approach, everything. And I could go on and on, but I only have 10 minutes. So when you process this, you think about, okay, now we really respect her life, and for the sihasen part, this is up to you. This is up to you. It's up to you if you want to get better. It's up to you if you want help. It's up to the person to find their sihasen. And to do that, you really have to encourage them and approach them in a way where you're caring, you're kind, you're compassionate, you're empathetic to whatever the situation is. And for me, I don't see my clients as clients. I see them as my relatives. That's why I introduce myself. I say my clans. I hear their clans, and I know that there's this interrelation that we have together. And I always hear the president say, "Epa nihitzi," and that's true, because with kinship we are strong, with understanding that all of us indigenous peoples, we have our own versions of k'eh in our communities, but this solidarity that we need to build with other relations requires us, and as an ambassador, I would like to establish other relationships with other indigenous peoples, with Black people, with our Asian relatives, and as well as all the spectrums of our people. And so it's really important for us to even address anti-Blackness in our communities, and to address injusticeness that is done to the LGBTQ community. And a lot of times just keep an open mind. With our people, we were never really judgmental in the beginning. We would always listen, we'd always hear what's happening, but we'd always ask questions. We're very curious, we're very wanting to understand, what is it, who are you, where are you coming from? And we have our own ways of approaching things. So with that, I really encourage a lot of our younger viewers to either, when I have the time, to study more about peacemaking and to study about mediation, as well as fundamental law. These are the things that are going to keep us strong. And I have a section here that I'm just going to explain real quick. So this is a really thick, these are all cases involving fundamental law that were used in courts. And they go from different sections, but I really would highly suggest that our younger viewers and even our leaders try to really advocate for the fundamental law process to be taken seriously. And for those who are studying the bar exam, NNIS method is similar to IRAC method, and that is the process that a lot of lawyers use to evaluate certain situations or whatever your client's going through. And I just want to talk real quick about this book. This book really is an important book. It is Red Nation Rising: From Border Town Violence to Native Liberation. And Native liberation is something I really hope that we achieve one day, and to even to get our justice back in our communities, to protect our land, to protect our people, and to continue having these flexible and critical thinking. So with that, I give you my conclusion, and I tried to condense this as quickly as I could, but it's more of like a class. It's more of something that you'd want to maybe take at your local community college. And I really, it's a lot of Navajo philosophy, it's a lot of Navajo language, it's a lot of understanding the approach of law, but I really encourage a lot of our lawyers out there to think Diné first, and then think a lawyer second. So with that, I conclude, and see so.
Shita Shandin Yazi de Kodot Ohotsodo Njaga Ado Shi Agelido Kita Bajishin Todich Eatni Eta Hache Ado Yomi Eta Hanale Ko Yaha Kodo a lecture in demonstrating of a peacemaking session. We'd like to thank all the listeners, and at this time, thank you, Shandine. We'll see you back here, and at this time, while she's getting off the stage, our judges are in the process of tallying their scores, and then we also will be forwarding it to a tabulator. At this time, we want to give some entertainment to our NNTV film who will be providing that. If we can listen to the entertainment. Na hiha.
Shit.
Welcome back to our 69th annual Miss Navajo Nation pageant. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our contestant number 2, who will be demonstrating how to wire a GFSI outlet, switch, and light fixture. I'd like to introduce Niagara Rockbridge. Edik at Nadino na ke khanache bake beraho zan aden shin angela kinkia ani agelindo ado hashkan hatzo e budget chin ado na kheden e tabeche ado tokhane e tabenale kokodo e yaut in hit e ken lini na atleto le. Contestant number 2.
Good morning. My name is Niagara Rockbridge. I am the Towering House clan, born for the Wild Banana Fruit clan. My maternal grandparents are the Wandering People clan. and my paternal grandparents are the Near the Water clan. I'm 22 years old. My mother and father are Deborah and Gary Rockbridge. My first footsteps began in Helena Cottonwood, where my maternal grandmother and mother are from. However, I've also come to call Pageant my home as well, where my paternal grandmother and father are from. And this is how I identify myself as a young Diné lady. I have 4 siblings. I have 3 older brothers and 1 younger brother, and I'm the only girl of the family. And so it's very essential that I learn how to do things such as wire and outlet and all of these things, so that way I don't have to depend on anybody or my brothers to do it. So for many years, my dad and I have ran our electrical, AC, heating, and plumbing business all across the nation. We worked in collaboration with NTUA's Light Up Navajo and helped many Navajo communities out there to provide a much needed service for our people. And so when looking at the experience working with my dad, I realized that our people do not have the knowledge that they need if they need to wire their own outlet, if they need to figure out what's wrong, also called troubleshooting. And so they don't have the knowledge to do that. So today I would like to share how to do those different type of things that I can teach right here. And so the first step is always safety. You always have to wear your proper PPE. Right now, I have my boots on, I have my colorful shirt so people know that I'm here and I mean business and to get it done. But the next thing is also to follow the safety protocols. Always turn off your power at the main service entrance panel so you don't get electrocuted, and so anything like that dangerous could happen to you. So right now, I will be demonstrating how to wire an outlet, a switch, and at the end, I'll turn on the light. So that way you can see that it's done properly. And this is a 14 gauge wire. And what that means is that, as you can see here, the wire is 14 gauge, and it's a 14-2, meaning it's 14 gauge, and it's a 2 current carrying wires. So that's why it's small like this. It's usually utilized in lights, switches, things like that. They also have what's called 12-2, which they utilize as well. But what's important to know is how electricity works. Electricity is where the electrons and protons are behaving in response to oppositely charged particles. So if you get enough of the electrons to break free and start flowing in the same direction, it creates a current, also known as electricity. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started on wiring these components here. So this is the switch I'll be using. And as you can see here, it has these 2 things here, which I'll be utilizing up here. And this is the outlet, which I'll begin to wire now. And this black wire here is usually what carries your power. It's important to know where your power is coming from. In this instance, my power is going up and ending there. So that's why you can see kind of a lot of wires in this area. So it's pretty simple. The green always goes to the ground, which helps in case of any lightning. If lightning were to hit your home or hit anything near your home, it helps protect that so that your home does not kick off at any power. And this is how you wire this here. Then it's always important to know and be organized within your switch box. That way you know how to properly take care of these situations when they occur. So now we will move on to the switch. Now this part gets a little bit complicated because, like I said, you have to know where your power is coming in from. In this case, it's coming in from the bottom, and there will be 2 wires coming in. And so you connect the grounds to each other, and you make sure that one comes out. They call it a pigtail. And so that's where this will go here. And then in this instance, I connected the white to the silver and the brass to the black. Here, it's both brass. And so you put it together, the white, as you can see here, I've utilized this. And so you twist it together, basically doing another pigtail, but that's what your switch leg is called. It helps you carry your power from here to here so that you, when you turn on the light like this, it'll turn on up there. And this here, you will have two black, the power part of it will go to the bottom, and the top part, which will help power this here, the light, goes to the top. And that's how you know that you've done it correctly, is to always know where your power is coming in from. Electricians, they usually mark it like switch leg or power, and so that's how you know where to connect what. And it gets a little bit complicated because electricians, they wire differently. So here I'll go ahead and connect this. Sometimes these screws on this fixtures, they can be a little bit more difficult to screw in just because of the way that they're made differently and they're manufactured. So sometimes you have to resort to doing it manually. So that's when we move on to doing something like this here and screwing it in. And this is important to have an electrician belt, electrician tools. So that way, these are specially made in case of any electrical shock or anything of that matter. That way you're able to safely put your tools to work and get the job done. And that is how you do the switch. And then we'll just finish screwing this in here. Then we move on to the light. The light's pretty simple. As you can see here, this is what's utilized to hold up your light. So this is how, like when you're doing your drywall and things like that, you see like those fancy lights up there and they go like this. That's what this is. So what you do here is get these wire nuts, is what they call it, and you wrap it around here like so, and then you twist it on. And sometimes they can be a little bit difficult, but that's okay. You just keep moving. And always make sure to twist it on and don't just push it on there. Other than that, it's not gonna work as well as it should. And black goes to black, white goes to the white, and brass goes to brass. That's all you need to know to hook up one of these components. Like I said, it does get a little bit complicated, but you can still do it if you just have a little bit knowledge of what to do and what to expect. And then what you do is you just push these wires all in here. Do this, get this in here. Then you gotta look at how is it gonna be set up. Where is it connecting? Then you grab this here, put this in here, and you have power. Thank you.
Iheha shita njono kon nan hinin ta do njono in la e kodoba ahenitzen auto while Miss Rockbridge is getting off the stage. We'll come back with her. She and the other contestant will come back for the contemporary attire presentation. While our judges are tallying their scores, we're moving forward again to another entertainment from our NNTV film audience. Yeah. Yanan e shik edo shidne. Then that is not ido ko antian hit the nebich a can. Etahato zigi do contest yana kagi. Kad enas nana do left de kuna again hit a can lini. Oshkala Lakota Arnshell Jojol ye. Aro kodoj hotsodo aro ya ke tot ton tot na zani ejel aro look at the ne yashin aro ki ani etabeche aro look at the ne ya tabenale ako kodoshe nihilchina hato al the skill game motivational speaking de kana ishin hiche do li. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our contestant, number 3, Shicha.
I wanted to start off a story. This is the story of my grandparents. My grandmother is Bessie Cleveland. My grandfather was Samuel Begay. My grandmother was an orphan when she was younger with her younger sister. None of her relatives wanted her near. And my grandfather was raised by his oldest sister. My grandfather was from Chinle, Arizona, and my grandmother was from Ganado, Arizona. And my grandfather went into the USMC Korean conflict, so he was a Marine. And my grandmother just stayed in the boarding schools. And she got out and she started her job as a janitor and a lunch lady. As time went on, my grandmother had a son, and his name was Deskrit Begay, my uncle. And later down in life, when my grandpa came back from the war, they met in Gallup, and they decided to get married. And they had their first child together, which is my mother, Geraldine Begay, her maiden name. And, they grew up poor, as my mom called it. They grew up poor with just her brother, herself, and my grandparents. But they lived a happy life. They had no running water. They had no electricity. She would tell me how early they would get up early in the morning. You have to get up before the sun even comes up. Then you work all day until the sun goes down. And I wanted to tell you how my mother was raised now. There's a difference in the female reign and the male reign. My mom had it hard, and my grandpa would used to whip her with a welt, and it would cause the bleeds on her legs. Today she would think about it and say, I hated my dad. I hated my dad. And today that would be called child abuse, but back then that's called discipline. And the same goes for my late uncle. And so they continued growing up like that. It wasn't abuse, it was just discipline. If they ever brought home a C or a D grade, they would get welted. If they ever talked back, they would get welted. And my grandmother was the kindest woman ever. As everyone had told me, that she was the kindest woman that anyone could ever come across from. And as time went on, my mom, before then, when my mom was born, she was, after 2 months after her birth, this was when NAC, Native American churches, were illegal on our reservations. And my grandpa and my uncle stayed behind while she went to that secret place where they went to go meet for that POD meeting. And they had a good ceremony until they got caught. When they got caught, all the police came and grabbed all of their instruments and they threw it in the fire. The only thing they didn't throw was that Bible that was on the altar. And what was on top of that altar was the POD. So my grandma had my mom already with her, and they didn't have child protection services at that time. So my mother went into jail at 2 months old. It's so sad, yet my mom she laughs about it because she went to jail for her very first time after 2 months. And then later on in life, when she was in 2nd grade, she was already falling behind in her English. And when she was falling behind, she had told her mother, "Speak to me in English. Speak to me in English. I am falling behind in my schoolwork, and I don't want to be welted by my dad." So her mom said, "Okay, my child, I'll speak to you in English." So both of them accompanied her in that way. So she was competitive in that Western society. She was a basketball player. She was a track star runner and a cross-country runner. You know, she was outgoing in that way. But she still kept her language. She still continued to talk to her parents in Navajo. Now, as my mom grew up that way, my grandpa told her, "You will never amount to anything. You will never be anybody. You will never be somebody." He said the same words to my uncle and my mom. Now, there's a difference. You can either take that or you can listen to it, believe it. And as my mother was a strong woman, she didn't want to hear that. She wanted to prove him wrong. So she came home an all A student. She graduated high school early. She had all these scholarships and went to college, and she had her first child. She worked in a law firm. She worked in with Oak Springs chapter. She worked in the legislative branch in our government, the Navajo Nation government. And, you know, she went through all of that to please my dad, to show her that she was somebody. But that wasn't enough. And, you know, as time went on for my uncle, he believed it. So he became an alcoholic, and he went on into a train accident. So I lost my uncle. And my grandmother had passed on a little later on due to lung cancer. So it was just my mom and my grandpa. And she tells me this story. One time the Oak Springs chapter was having a meeting, and it was snowing that day, and she wanted to bring outdoor bread. So she went outside, cleaned the pit, she built the fire, and then she made her dough, and she waited on the coals. Then she started her bread. And my grandpa, her dad, was wondering, where is she at? And then he found her outside. He's like, "Oh," Mom said, "he just looked at the fire, he looked at me, he went around, he grabbed wood, he put in more fire for me." And this is when he said, "Shiyaje," in Navajo, "I am proud of you." She tells me every time, and she starts crying. Those are her very first words from her father. All the things she did didn't matter. All she had to do was show how strong she was. And it was just by going out in the winter, in the cold day, to make bread for the people she was bringing it to. So the whole moral of the story is, do not, to my youth out there, if someone tells you you are not good enough, you will never amount to anything, don't listen to it. We are Diné people, and we come from a big background which made us strong. We came from a lot, and it made us strong. Don't listen to that. Prove that to that person. Take those words of encouragement and continue on to prove how much your worth is. And today my mom thinks about it. My mom tells all of us how she had lived. And now, when she used to say, "I hated my father," she says, "I am happy that my father treated me that way, because if he didn't do that to me, I wouldn't have been strong today. I wouldn't have been the woman I am today." And I just get away with a hanger or a belt. So it was easy for me. And, you know, listen to your parents, obey your parents. because they brought you into this world. They gave you that life. And live it to your fullest potential. Be anybody who you want to be. And it's okay if you don't go to college, and if you can still be successful in every way. There's many programs. So that is the message to my youth of how my grandparents grew up poor, and how my mother was raised in a very harsh but disciplined way.
Thank you to contestant number 3. We'll be back with the contemporary attire presentation while the judges are tabulating their scores. And we want to give a thanks to all our sponsors. We like to thank all of you for tuning in, the listeners on Facebook, the World Web. We like to appreciate each and every one of you listening from home, from organizations and such. Njono no sala don njono na no tha ado amasane eche enale do keyate na has ade ni hito da he na te hot ade ne bich e na dicha da no ehi khata da no ko ba khoni zi hat da tsapan de te shwal jin zin la alto apa tsite kesen da ado ishlada Akahashit ilapante sha la kwat net ke shile khat ido lehla ado oi o sha at nitlo tlohan chitats at eshli dola dat ha to zisli dat upahan li bi dat you gon to il kesla ado o shin chodo na dish ni ko ado dishwada akondela as you go shi o you ni hit a ken lini shito What abe shehedet olzin she danzen a ko ba hensen amado a no lini ado no sanido no sahido ado a che anale da danole ado a mayaje atta da danle ado be yilhataj je a deje kate hatselakhana ta shin da halla ako eshi at elato ba a head at dishnil kodon hit a can't de jehi ado ya a dan lini ado ba dan lini do head ni hido sato dat we like to acknowledge all the parents, grandparents, relatives, aunties, uncles, siblings. Each and every day you do teachings. Ado educators, teachers, the nothini ni hido. You're not forgotten as an educator, as a former educator, and as a parent, every day we're an educator. So an hilholjish, not anin linido ihebedi nidole, hala ho wado e nantin hazla, a magelon, jegelon, eshin kobe holni ho wado not ani itlini hazla, o you. Nihiche, Nihinale that the Holland, he must send it the Holland Tahodolji. Shehot na iste, ko Sato Yego, Isens the Shane, Latin Hashla and then some bantes kesle. A ko, Jonna and Tin, it edo oho Nasco Deniago Sani, Sinleon, Nizaba, Holian, Nizabasan tit, the had no yata tiabahoni zi. Ado kina o yego hashkeje yendan hin tinde at dishjing halchinin hiyajen he away abich ashidi kehla o yobich it needle a konde johajo she yaje she away bejino she ado at heta ado the office of Miss Navajo Nation Council da noslini ito edo shamashade da shi da noslin shedeje Ado shizedi keda shida notle shama johot eda keta isunol anshi ni hito hehe khala ti hot an hilho a ibn na to lahon na khoni tlonda that's enough any equine equinitlo, a quande, jotodazin, a yat elbe, not the catine, a co oshi, the one slon or lent, and she done no send. Oh, you go and not jahot and hit on hinan nishtaholla, a co by here needs all the former Miss Navajos and then the council as well. We appreciate all that you do for our your communities, our Navajo nation, and our people. Lashain hinan nishtaholla, lashain nan nishte solpa, lashain ta inolta, ye go that, willepe that, jot on that him. Ado di kwahot ahas anido ben jarago coordinator dehne edo hehe shich edan oslido kwadon jono hot ado hot di nishido dano sino hot an hilho a konde jo atahwil ato yego yenan hintin ot ado just scores tabulator will yeni ito edo hehe kwadon ha alki hizohi ado judges dano slini kwado Nihinal at al any Nihita or Heha or no you volunteer at all lado by he needs in a coquan hinanish or lenny don't al kidito yego oh ashad or hosh an le as la hatchet din e added that is I could they net at the dana could you hanajil the dollar days eat a big hapasa neatlo the nenny linny big hapasa neatlo don his other bata huiliada. Da isn't a ashhode, Hajo sadi at ehi be ba ahuliado be at the Coden o you ha a city hollow. Hela and the halate but mato bejets a hollow that's another nest count a yelki, denny hollow. Ba ahuliatan hidi, neshik edoshid in there. Ado di kone sani lini bahastke khala anil tson etishne benda anil tson sani bits ado yita to osholeti no enhit eliada to enhi madon hije bolni aje nanishin lini ninla nihima de nast endezje nan hiljet nan hiltke naha ahliadon his also. Doshi bigaho, which not ilieta a maulieni. Adon not untin besala. Not untin don sakes he hele. Ebe edget ele, ebe sehuin zentle. Hashine la nihima, latin hits and the haske, nihima sanada, na ilna a janeske. A co ebina, ajo galade, hazaba, ahojeliado, kesensen. Ga gwint wel hojonle jo enda antine is in shik edo shidne a koba niet na antin ho wado khahila kon da del khonesh kishna strado o de tonta anish kodon hich ela o de na anishi yinetle shido at ashiyaho at o de na anishi a konde a do la yuba indle shido needle an the bohol jo kodin antinege jo hot ayika ado di hot an hiho aigi do ba heta nitsinda ishin hit hanni o jo stra ede ya yanana hita do nishinde jo kwich kodo benat nitkim yo dan hini nini benache benat nitkin don ha de le dan de do is onko do ya at ehi belholno got na nihizaba holiati no kodo nihich khateitse nihinat anin hize il enedat an lini akot ata dinosen chik edoshne adona nishobal na has angoto ajo kalleto hak edo atenda o you hak eholno at na jo kwata hidinosen tad nihidine ako na antkine jo kodo amasane eche aje amma yaje that lo eshin that nes kha kodo beya deltke ado ani chhona honi tlodishne. And with us, I'd like to acknowledge Madam First Lady Pafilia Nen. She's here with us today. Although we have a former Miss Navajo, Dr. Crystalline A. Con Hilholo, Ado Shandine Parish, she's condo hon hachahi such a banaj ko edo yego he has it yego and he kain luet was lepe will yeni be nan hinin tradon le ala lange tradin neshiba he nitzen a ko he ha adon nik edon na mado bechain jet nikeya na tloshi shi aje bohusin sa ni anil tsahodanit to ko he ha dini do lesh ado kodo haleit kwa ado shenatnas kida tanoseni jo di Facebook ilnini gin ben se keste aje bi nalke nadnish iltanosena jo an hin holni aje nat giso hanajil ke ado national aje di OPVP website ilnini aje bi nal kediot ayadil ti ko kodo sponsor lini do kodo judges and lini jo kodo hika jehi ba huishne our official tabulator Miss Elfrida Lee will kodo auditor general jo aje yanalnish ko ado di his kan wiki ya skan the mo yaje jo lat to ol kilo she kodo he kodo neto when the hones nanigi be hodozi original no otis she at binego hata hasito ta ila ni sani ni kline ashit ta honesna jo hot ada ban sa kes babej net lido pasdesno ado ado ta ist nana hegodat it this din islatin dat ido kha jo hot ada bakachna nitle o yun khalchne da ist do o you ni ein lini da ist o you talat so that da le tkhnan nan da na he da ne ko he shik edo shne da da is no tsai ado de nepzad de yendo adeshne ajit oyo allah be yashti shapa akhnasen. I know I'm using a lot of the Navajo language. I'm sorry to all the listeners that are not fluent in Navajo, but it's a really powerful, it's a complex language, and it's a beautiful language. Akohade shi tona nande njunon hizada dit bohidesh ata no ajkuta yetahol nihishe khanit nihish en hizaba yatanitsen. Are we embarrassed to speak our language? As a woman, there's all these whys, what ifs that comes to our mind. Rather than going to a sponsor showing another commercial break, I took it upon myself to say, hey, let's just continue this and let's keep going. So next, it is at that time, ladies and gentlemen, we're now at the contemporary attire, or you can call it evening gown, followed by a platform presentation. Contestants will have 2 minutes to show her attire and have 3 minutes for an impromptu question. Adenas na hatolja edo shidne. Adeta isenol tsai. Di kwa an hiddenebich eke and lini yahanado ka asla anzino aad yena rahigi. Jo hanado zilto ado na atikidole ashin sako na batikidole. They'll get 1 question, and then we'll have our judges continue tabulating their scores. So at this time, we'll go ahead and move to our contestant number 1, and I'll go ahead and read her information. Are we ready? Contestant number 1. Shandine Yazi, she is wearing a bright yellow velvet dress with yellow pumps. Her outfit is made by Miss Christie, who made this outfit for her 8th grade promotion. Detail on the dress are pins with stamp made and maze design. The man in the maze is a significant piece to her attire. To her Itoi, he is the Odin people's creator who resides in a cave below the peak of Bakavimi Mountain, a sacred place within the territory of Tohono O'odham Nation. O'odham and history describes bringing Hohokam people to this earth from the underworld. Ho'okam are ancestors of both the Tohono O'odham Desert people and the Ikemil O'odham River people. He is also responsible for the gift of the Hymn Dog, a series of commitments guiding people to remain in balance with the world and interact with as it's intended. According to O'odham oral history, the elaborate design depicts experience and choices individuals make in a journey through life. In the middle of the maze, a person finds their dreams and goals. When one reaches the center, the individual has a final opportunity, the last turn in the design, to back upon choice made and the path taken before the sun god greets us, blesses us, and passes us into the next world. Shandin Yazi. And the question is from Ms. Rosegrave, or from the question reads, how would you mobilize young ladies to pursue science, technology, engineering, and math careers?
Is it on? Okay. So how I would encourage and mobilize our young women out there that are pursuing science is, when you're in high school, there's a STEM program. It's the science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. STEM program is really amazing. They offer a lot of scholarships, and I really encourage a lot of our young ladies out there who are in the school system to maybe try and pursue STEM classes. If not, look at our traditional knowledge and skills. We were scientists, we were engineers, we were physicists, we were chemists. There are so many traditional knowledges that we have within it, and I really encourage a lot of our younger viewers, and especially women, just to take it upon yourself to carry all the knowledge that our grandparents and our elders share with us, as well as when you look at what do you want to make 10 years from now, I want to see us really working together and thinking about how we can protect the environment, how the environment plays a role, and how we can all take care of it. With that, really study what keh is and take it into an emphasis of what you want to do.
Yeah, thank you for your response. Appreciate that. And we could all give a round of applause for those of us that are here. You know, thank you, contestant number 1. And as she gets off the stage, we'll go ahead and see you at the next talent platform this afternoon presentation. Thank you for staying and tuning in with us, audience. We'd like to share a video with you at this time from NNTV Film. Yeah. Yananet eshik edoshidne, koje hanada siyo gizido, kodo sato dan hinali, ad yadi kwa contestant number 2, ba naholji. Like to introduce Niagara Aveda Chanel Rock Bridge. The description of her evening gown, this elegant floor-length A-line style gown has been designed by Navajo seamstress from the Western Agency. The gown was designed utilizing a native sunset stripe color microfleece material featuring the native colors of turquoise, yellow, green, white, blue, red, orange, and burgundy. The draping is a sparkling white sheer organza that follows at the A-line design. The accessories featured with this gown are comprised of a Western sterling silver belt and a Navajo sterling silver squash blossom set consistent with bracelets, rings, necklaces, and earrings. Kodoshe be hajdet ehi hananel ido ben jagahigi e yise be hajdet ehi e kodo aho wado e ilya jot ayahal neto bikina ashcha ido be e dahozani. We have one question. Describe in detail with provided examples of a challenge that young leaders are currently facing within the Navajo Nation.
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's very important to realize that within our government of the Navajo system, that the youth voice is often not heard. And when I look at the Navajo Nation government, they are the older generation, those of the millennial generation, who are taking these seats. And we are in a generation, currently Generation Z, who is experiencing something so much more different, have so many other different experiences than those of the older generation. And so, like for example, when you think about the youth centers that we have here on the Navajo Nation, there are only 6 compared to how many senior centers are on the Navajo Nation. And the senior centers on the Navajo Nation double the amount of youth centers that we have. And when you go before council or you go before the president, you can hear them talking about the youth, wanting to get them involved. And the president himself has a Navajo Nation Youth Council who he utilizes, actually all 3 of the branches utilize as their source of advisement in terms of youth issues. But I do think it's more important that we give them more of an internship rather than filing papers for our leaders. You know, it's important that they get that hands-on experience so they know what it's like to be in a position of a leadership position. So again, thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to thank you, and we'll go ahead and have you exit the stage, and our judges will tally up their scores. And at this time, I'd like to acknowledge another individual that has joined us, Madam Second Lady. Thank you for joining us. And at this time, we'll go ahead and turn for another short clip from our NNTV film to prepare for our next contestant. Thank you.
Yate she Blair Tangwa Iyeneshe, Billagana Nishle, Simon Bashishtin, Torechitni Dashiche, Simon Dashanale. Hello, everybody. My name is Blair Tangwa and I am from Kayenta, Arizona. I am currently Miss KMS at Kayenta Middle School. My parents are Carolyn and Fred Tangwai. My mom, Carolyn, is half white and half Navajo. My dad, Fred, is Samoan. Today I will be showing you a Samoan traditional dance called the Siva Samoa. I hope you like it.
Yananet Eshik Edoshne, Kodo A Nasnana Dole. Like to invite contestant number 3, Ashkela Lakota Ironshell. And she's presenting herself in the gown and jewelry. I stand with my moccasins, which are made from our four-legged animals. Bottom of my moccasin sole represents Mother Earth, and the top represents Father Sky. Both from plain cow hide. My wrap represents the rainbow, and the string represents sun ray. They are both made of buckskin, which is sewn together and represents the universe. My dress was a gift to me. The dress is a charcoal gray and turquoise stone trim. From the bottom left of my dress, I have the Navajo basket, knowledge and turquoise velvet fabric, along with my trim on my left sleeve. On my right shoulder is long glittery turquoise scarf. I'm wearing my late grandmother's pendant that has a huge value to my family and myself. This pendant is the last of what we could keep. I stand before you in humbleness, way to show of how proud I am to have symbol of my late grandmother. Around my waist, I wear a silver concho belt with my turquoise bracelet with war on both of my wrists, and my turquoise rings are worn on each side of my hands. I was told never to wear rings on pointer finger and thumbs. On my ears, I'm wearing my turquoise earrings. Making my way to my hair, I wear my traditional hair tie made from white yarn with purple and black beads. My hair is sacred. I cherish my thoughts and good blessings. Waking up this morning, I was always told to say my prayer, think good thoughts, and think of the future. So I stand before you in the most humble way with all the values, teaching, prayers, and love from my family and friends. May you all walk in beauty. Kurai shindu behajdet ehi ba nahajol na lato hak ein lini al yado lato be ishta ist osani gishin akodo ba nahatisne. At this time, we'll be asking you a question na dikitole. Question, and this is coming from our judge Teresa Benali. If you could teach a new class in school, what would it be?
A new class?
A new class in school.
If I were to teach in school a new class, it would be about a few things I would like to share is butchering. There's many ways to butcher. I want to know how they were taught, and if some weren't taught how to butcher, I want to show them how to butcher, how I was taught how to butcher. The next thing would be how to make moccasins. If their family knows how to make moccasins, they can help one another and teach how to make moccasins, the meaning of it. The next one would be how to sew, how to make or weave. Start weaving. If kids came from weaving families, then they can teach and help one another in that way. And if none came in with those teachings, they can learn from one another. So I would also, as a teacher, I would help them. I would gift them with things like in that way, and how to butcher, how to weave, and how to make moccasins, because I want to learn with my students, and I want to continue on our culture and our traditions in each and everything, because everything has a meaning to it. So that would be what I would teach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your answer, and we'll see you back in a bit for the next platform. Akunan sagoshin kodo nada itla shikedo shidne. Ako aden da isenol tsai Facebook da ehi khaye nihit ke at ba hita di khalcho e hollon le hashi alla khoda tni aj nihita kodo hita di khal ihe da be di nido le nihit ke leni kwaet eta allahi gi ba he ni zendo na he amado je إنه صحيح نحلنيجي كدوشي أي إن TV film بنادى دوت أهل أنا هنزاج إيها Na he shik edo shidne. Kodoshin ya ni hit e kalt ego ya. Ha ishi yine tlini do ha ishi pelni joni ki ya ye na dat o tlito na dan hinalto le. Ado el so I lado e biquero ha ile yese pesa zido le nashit il ti ko jo belagana jo platform yilne ako di I lado ado a biquero be platformi yehodolne. At this time I like to call out contestant number 1, Shandine Yazi. She will be doing her talent. Following her talent, she will remain on the stage and explain to us her platform, provide us the platform presentation. Miss Yazi?
Yeah, Shema. Good morning to everyone listening, and hello again. My name is Shandine Yazi, and this morning I kind of had this whole situation where I wanted to bring my guitar in. So I like to play music. I'll talk a little bit about kind of like my background. I'm very multi-talented, but my specialty is comedy. Just kidding. So if anybody has ever seen Res Night Live, I was actually one of the co-actors, and we actually performed up here on stage. I worked along with Navajo comedians, James and Ernie, and Chishba, and a lot of other Cody artists, and other comedians on here on stage, and it was pretty fun. And then I also do acting. I am one of the winners for the Sundance Fellowship, and I was a main actor for Yat E Bene, which is actually a post-apocalyptic movie. So I played a cool character where I got to have a gun, and I was like cool, like doing roles and all. Nah, I'm just kidding. But if you ever get the opportunity to see it, it's 15 minutes long. It's really cool. And then I also have been a part of other films, but I'm not going to say the name because it's probably not appropriate. But it's a funny movie. It's about a romantic comedy, and it's directed by Black Horse Lowe, who is an amazing Navajo director and filmmaker. And I worked along with Morningstar Angeline, who is another Diné Chippewa and Blackfeet director. So I work a lot with the film industry. I've worked along with a lot of amazing actors and actresses. And for those of you who may have seen on YouTube, it has 3.8 million views. It's the Thosh Ketaway. So I was the mama shark for Baby Shark in Navajo. I love to sing to my nephews and my nieces and my little ones that I'm usually around. So they say, "Hey, Shambaya, like that's my auntie." So they usually like say, "Can you sing it one more time?" So I was actually the mama shark and then the little baby fishes. So it was kind of fun working with Pink Fong and the people in South Korea that were online, kind of like working together. So that's a little bit about me and my background. But I'm really passionate about singing. I love singing. I love performing. I love being in front of the camera. Nay. But I'm here, and I actually didn't want to get copyrighted. So I don't know if I'm going to sing the song I was really going to sing. But today, it's the 69th annual Miss Navajo Nation pageant, and I wanted to sing songs from the 60s. For those of you who are out there, I love the 60s and I love the 70s. Those were some good times, right? Nay. So with that, I love singing. I love being a part of the arts and the music. I play in a band called Bishtin. It's a punk band. So it's usually like, I do I'm a variety of music. I like to sing. But usually I'm doing like hardcore stuff where I'm banging my head like. So if you can tell the president to get Anthrax and Metallica here again. Just kidding. So it'd be cool. So I'll probably just sing like a little bit, and then I'll stop, and then I'll sing like another part of another song, and that's just kind of like how I'll mess around. So for those of you who love the 70s and 60s, this one's one of my favorites. Okay, let me see. And since I don't have a guitar, it's probably gonna be like air guitar. But if you know this riff, y'all know it. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, hey, what's the matter with your head? Oh yeah. Hey, hey, nothing the matter with your head, baby. Find it. Come on and find it. Hey, with it, baby, 'cause you're fine in your mind and you look so divine. Come and get your love. 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 That's one of my favorite songs, and that's kind of just one part. And then for the grandpas out there, I love CCR. So dun, 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 dun. I see a bad moon arising. I see trouble on the way. Looks like we're in some nasty weather. One eye is taken for an eye. Well, don't go around tonight. It's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Hey. So those are my two parts for you. I love singing. If I had my guitar, I would just be going all out, all hardcore. So with that, I conclude my talent. So you can ask me questions on my platform.
And go ahead and tell us about your platform.
So like I said earlier, I gave a little bit of an example of my skill, and that's just with being a facilitator in peacemaking sessions. But one of my platforms I really want to work with in our communities is just to be continuing advocating for our people and our LGBTQ communities, for our Black Indigenous relatives, for all of us who are a part of KEH. And the emphasis is just working with KEH and to bring that into awareness on how it contributes to all social justices. Environmental, reproductive, transformative, and restorative justice are one of the things that I really want our people to start studying and learning about and advocating for. But one of my main platforms is just restorative and transformative justice, and to educate our people on the different avenues and resources that we can do to approach issues that our people are facing here on the Navajo Nation. I really want to continue working with the unsheltered folks here on the Navajo Reservation. I want to get a lot of our unsheltered and unhoused and predisposed relatives are actually veterans, and I really want to work with them because my family are a long line of veterans, and they need our help. They don't have housing, they don't have proper necessities or resources, and they suffer from PTSD. And a lot of the things I want to continue working with is just to educate ourselves on how to take care of ourselves, and that's with restorative and transformative justice. So thank you, and before I forget, fundamental law as well is one of my platforms, and I really want to educate y'all. I told one of the guys, I said, that lecture that I did was 10 minutes. Usually it's 3 hours. So I had to condense it. But, okay, thank you.
So, yeah, should quite his now seen the Edo, Nihitali, yeah, or she yun zago tsinta de case, yeah. Nanat elashik elashidna she na itladole contestant number 1 Shandin Yazi Jolia ohot so de jagado na itla aro she nas nana dole quad in TV film but na dol nil ajishin sponsor iki ye jana nedol yeah. Yananet eshik edoshne. Ado eya kujishi nasna hodoljish. Ado eya di nihich eken liniki. Ado ha ishi yinet lishi do belnijoniki kodo ye na hodolne. At this time, we have another contemporary talent. Following the talent, the contestant will talk about her her platform. Okay, at this time, I call upon contestant number 2, Niagara Veda Channel Rock Bridge.
Good morning, Yat for Second Lady, and all of the distinguished guests here, Miss Navajo and the judges. My name is Niagara Rockbridge. I am the Towering House clan, born for the Wild Banana Fruit clan. My maternal grandparents are the Wandering People clan, and my paternal grandparents are the Near the Water clan. I'm 22 years old. My first footsteps began in Helena Cottonwood, where my maternal grandmother is from, and my mother as well. However, I've also come to call Pinion my home as well, where my paternal grandmother and father are from. And my mother and father are Deborah and Gary Rockbridge. I have 4 siblings. I have 3 older brothers and 1 younger brother, and this is how I identify myself as a young Diné lady. Today, I will be talking about my journey through the sciences of veterinary medicine. That has always been a very big passion of mine. My journey started at the age of 12, and I'm not too sure if you all know who Dr. Ruby is on the reservation. I started my journey with her. She's a very interesting and exciting lady to work with. And my love for animals and all things with nature and animals began with her. Her appreciation of the land, of the animals that we have, the care that she does for them. And that's what has inspired me, to be where I am today. And also within our own traditions and our own culture, we have our own respect for land and animals. And so today I will be demonstrating how to give a shot. I don't have an animal with me, but I have an orange. So first I would like to talk about what it is like to be a responsible pet owner or a livestock owner. I feel that's very important right now as it contributes back to the land. And so today I would like to demonstrate talk about what being a responsible pet owner is, and then following demonstrate. So being a responsible pet owner, you have to always keep in mind, their needs come first. They have to have water, they have to have food, and they also have to get attention. And that can revolve around brushing them every day if it's a horse or if it's a livestock, even cats and dogs. And following that, you also have to maintain their hoof care or their nail care. And following that, if you have livestock, you have to always remember that to keep your numbers low, as right now, they talk about overgrazing in the BIA sector. And for us as Navajo people, we've always had a large amount of livestock. That was never really a problem for us back then because we knew how to maintain our herds and how to keep them to a number to where we can take care of them correctly. And so even though, these things are components that we have to do, they're often not abided by. And you can see feral horses out there, or dogs, or cats, or even sheep sometimes wandering without their owners. So it's always important to take care of your animals, and if you let them out to graze, to make sure to watch them so they don't get onto the highways, and that way they don't, cause accidents that could take the life of an individual or the animal itself. And so, we love our animals as Navajo people, so it's important to keep that in mind. So I'd like to move on to demonstrating how to give a shot. So as livestock owners, and I'm a livestock owner, I have horses and sheep. And so we're often tasked to give our sheep or horses shots, or dogs sometimes. And when working with Dr. Ruby, we worked with like the smallest dog to the largest bull, even at one point a hedgehog, which I didn't touch because I didn't know what to do with it. But, these are just experiences that you get. And so the first one I would like to talk about is the different vaccines given to ovine, which is sheep. And their first is Covexin 8. It is Clostridium and tetanus. You give that for internal parasites and also helps them build immunity toward any sicknesses that are out there. And also vitamin A, D, and E. And these supplements help them get the nutrients that they don't get sometimes from the land due to the drought that we're having and experiencing right now. And that's one of the main things that we have to do as livestock owners. And it's always important to remember to deworm your animals because they can get internal parasites. And you can use bromazine or ivermectin. They sell it at TNR. That's where I usually get mine. Or I get it from Dr. Ruby because she carries all of those. And I think it's important to say right now that I am a certified veterinarian assistant with the state of Arizona due to my work with Dr. Ruby. She's helped me extend my not only my textbook knowledge, but my hands-on abilities. So when giving a shot to an ovine, they give it in the axilla, which is where under the arm, where there's no wool present, or under the leg. That way it helps them get less reaction. You give it subcutaneous, or they call it sub-Q. That way the sheep doesn't get so much reaction from it. And so when you give a shot to an animal subcutaneously, you always make sure to get a clean needle and a syringe. I took mine out, so time, but you always make sure to have a clean needle, and this is a 3 cc. And so what I do, for example, this is not actual medication, this is water because I don't want to waste it. And so I pull back here, and to however much is usually in this vial, which is about 1 cc, and then you go ahead and stick your needle in here, you push it in, and it'll itself pull back the medication. And then once you get that, you can look at it and then push it up. And it's always important to take out these little bubbles that you see here, because that can cause a reaction within the animal. You flick it like this, get all those bubbles to go up. Some of you who are probably in the health profession, this is not new to you, but for animals, we kind of follow the same thing. Then you pinch the skin like if it was an animal, and it forms like a little tent because their skin and their meat where they have it separates. And then once you do that, you pinch and you go directly in, and then you give the shot. So that's how you do it subcutaneously. And when we talk about equine, they do theirs intramuscular. And what that means is you just go straight in to the muscle. For a horse, for example, which I will be talking about now, they usually give it within the hindquarters or in the neck area to help prevent any further reaction to any medication. Helps you know what it is that they got as far as vaccinations go. They get sleeping sickness, Eastern, Western, West Nile, and then also rhino, and they also get rabies shots as well because, you know, they're out there. They can get bit by who knows what out there. So it's always important to vaccinate your animals. So for intramuscular, you know, we give it straight into the muscle, which is just a straight shot. What Dr. Ruby taught me is that horses, they often flinch away from you like this, so you just kind of like pet them and go along. Then you just go like this, you go 1, 2, 3. They don't know. You can't tell them. And they're just like, oh, that's it. You know, that's all there is to it. And so knowing what to vaccinate your sheep and your horses with is very important. Same goes for dogs and cats as well, and whatever other animals it is that you have. Vaccinations are very important as it helps protect your animals and others as well. And with these vaccinations, it'll not only help you, but help all of our people out there. So again, I'd like to thank you for this time, and I'm very thankful to share my knowledge with you today. Ahiahat.
Ashin Kwanana.
Oh.
At the platform, Miki, Bahadil, if you can tell us about your platform.
Wow. Let me put this here. As the Net people, we cherish our kinship. We cherish this value of Keh because it is our first teacher. It is where we learn our language, our culture, our ways of life, how to care for animals, and everything it is that we are is where we learn that today. And when I think about this, I think back to our elders and our ancestors and what they did to get us to where we are today. And I feel as though if we reflect back on this value and strengthen this value back within ourselves and out there across the Navajo Nation, we can help harmonize our families, our communities, and our nation. Equally as important as this value is our language. It is very important to continue our language, to learn our culture, to learn our ways of life. Ever since I was small, this is what has been taught to me, and that has helped sustain me in becoming a strong Dene woman and knowledgeable in our language and our culture in Western society. It has always been stressed to me the importance of this value and of this skill. That way, it makes us who we are as Navajo people. Not only that, but it helps continue our sovereignty as a nation. This is what sets us apart from the rest of the world and what gives us strength when we go before officials in front of Washington, in front of the state. Things like this is what gives us strength. Furthermore, when we continue the revitalization and continue the efforts to sustain our ways of life and our language, it helps us build upon our own self-identity. Furthermore, when I talk about these different things, it's important to understand that right now, currently in our society, due to modernization and the forever evolving world around us, there has been an imbalance within our harmony, within our hujo, because we have been taught that this society of modern living is more important, that we need to utilize that needs to be the forefront. But I'm here to tell you today that that is not the case, that you can be able to learn both the Western society and your traditional knowledge. Having this imbalance makes you feel a sense of loneliness, or even if you feel out of place. I don't know if you get like that, but I do. When I go out to Phoenix, or when I go out, somewhere out of the reservations, you get a sense of, hey, I don't belong here. What are these people doing? What are those words that they're using? Because you're so used to being around your people here on the reservation. But I'm here to tell you that if I am selected as the next Miss Navajo Nation, I hope to remind our people of this value of our way of life, so that we can help our people continue to move forward. And not only that, but to feel like they're not alone anymore, that they are not alone out there, whether they're outside the reservation, whether they inside the reservation, that they are not alone here, that they have family, that they have values that they can reflect on for their strength. And I feel it's very important to understand that, because right now, currently in the pandemic, and for the past 18 months, we have faced much tragedy and loss. And it's important to remember that the strengths and the values that were instilled within us are still here, and we can reflect on those values to help strengthen us to move forward out of this pandemic and continue to move forward for the next generations. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, shita kan hil nasin na igi. Kodo shady nashit il tida go adi be instead of no kodo ni hil na hotisne here nabadi nido let contestant number 2. Here this time Johannet in here ha she pohonet the commercial na ni channel kid janel on a chain in TV film banadi al ajla ni hil na to auto sponsor lini banadi dit al here. Ya nanet e shik edo shidne kwa e ya contestant number 3 ba na hol jij do le. Ado di e ya ni e ke en lini o shkela Lakota Arnchel jolye. A kodishe ad e contemporary time lini ishi. Bishin Johnny do, bishin Lini e kodo, ye ina atleto le. At this time, we like to turn the floor over to our contestant number 3 for her skill and her talent.
To those who know where that song came from, that is not the reason why I chose that song. Anyways, I wanted to describe the reason why I chose this song, and it is in a different language. But the lyrics of this song is, I hear my father's drumbeat. I hear it through the land. I hear it from 100 years ago. As the beat continues, my heart will continue, and for 1,000 years I shall live again. So what does that mean? How I danced, how I presented in this song was, and how I think about these lyrics is prayer. I am a person, we all as the Diné people are people of the long walk, and also my Sioux people who are we are the people of the wounded knee. There are so many tragedies that have happened, and how did we get over through those times? We got through them through prayer and song. We got through them by being together with one another. And now how can we get over this pandemic as well? All we can do is pray. All we can do is sing and continue on together. And that's how and who we are as the Net people and my Lakota side. And it's hot this week. So it's really nice to know where I come from on both sides, knowing that I am someone of the Wounded Knee and the people of the Long Walk. We all are. And we shall continue on for 1,000 years, continue on with our song and prayer, because that is our last thing that is sacred. That is our last prayer of hope.
Go ahead and go to your platform.
Okay, so my platform is, if selected as Miss Navajo, I wanted to empower our youth. In many ways, it could be through song and dance, just how I presented myself here. I love to dance, and I want to encourage my youth, if you love to dance, we can learn together. I want to empower my youth through emotionally, physically, spiritually. I want to create those holistic teachings that were taught to me and to my mother. I want to continue that because that is my only thing I know how in my life. So empowering, I want to create programs for the youth who are homeless. I want to help them, and with the question I was asked, to create classes for them, to teach them art and net teachings, to teach them what they didn't have and what they didn't grow up with. That is my platform. I want to empower our youth in our holistic teachings. I want to have them grow, become more leaders for our people.
Na shita ado ano tanolt el she awe kodo ni hit ita o saido hataso zido ha ishi benot lido ni hitn liniki ba yasol hito be o sai kodo shi ni hit judges and lini ba nana slado le kodo ado tabulator lini shi hinane yitzo to le Shik edo should ne here ane da isenol ai anolcho koje she no holji do le talent skills do contemporary skills yilniki ako art ene da ila ako kajenle atla de do ni go khana do just aje traditional skills and talent competition yilne ni here o yilniki shi aje Thank you for watching and tuning in to our contemporary skills and talent competition of the 69th annual Miss Navajo Nation pageant. If you miss a portion of the pageant, don't worry, it will continue live stream. Next week, you can view the 1-hour segment on Channel 5, thanks to our INN-TV film, our PBS network station affiliations. Thank you to the 3 young ladies at Heights Stated. Thank you to the volunteers comprised of pageant judges, our coordinators, our committees, and then also our Office of Navajo Nation staff, and to our generous sponsors. Please join us tomorrow, Saturday, for the grand finale, which is the 69th annual Miss Navajo Nation pageant coronation, which will start at 11 a.m. for the pageant coordination to announce our new Miss Navajo Nation. Ako Canada do kishin asade do sneo ado yiskado the mo yajakun adi ni hit eke the net latoya nagado le is kango biko di nito le e shin asade satat that ol kit apeno ad shin behozito ako do Canada do kis kun saga e na neshlado le di the nebel kahozo Navajo Nation Museum de e khata khazit ko here she edo should na ni khon no logo ko no holji khaya hina de khadia ajashi akonil ehende itra e live a he ni zin aro anetan he nasli do aj to hollo bedadol chilchat hita khati ta halno da khode ni hizad ya ho no sinjuno koden hizad linin hit ta bedol chit hot khun saga ta ilyado lehna ha